All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a listener request.
Okay.
This one is about English greetings.
Mm-hmm.
And the source that they provided us is a podcast script that focuses on, daily English greetings.
Cool.
So kind of simple, but I think
Yeah.
we can definitely, unpack it and add a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So this podcast script, it's really targeted, I think, towards English language learners.
Yeah.
And so it goes over different greetings for various social situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can talk about the key takeaways
Hmm.
from that, but then also sprinkle in some cultural insights
Hmm.
and then maybe even practice a little bit together.
Sounds fun.
So I think the first thing that this podcast script does a really good job of is highlighting the difference between formal and casual greetings. It says good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Right.
Those all feel very formal.
Definitely more on the formal side.
You kind of highlights the context in which those greetings are used. So if you're in a more formal setting, those are perfect.
Yeah, like a business meeting or something.
Exactly. And then,
Yeah.
obviously on the opposite end, you have the more casual
Right.
hi or hello.
Hey there.
Hey there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that distinction I thought was really clearly laid out.
Yeah. Very useful and important to note, too.
Absolutely.
Because if you use the wrong one in the wrong situation, it could be a little awkward.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm.
So another thing this podcast script talks about, which I think we should dive a little bit deeper into, is the classic how are you?
Oh, yeah.
So the script mentions that it's often just a formality in
Yeah.
English-speaking culture.
Right. It's like you're not actually asking how they are. You're just saying hello.
Right, exactly. I don't actually want to know all the details
Yeah.
of your life.
Exactly.
Right, when I was how are you?
Um,
And so
Power.
why do we even bother?
Right.
Why ask if we don't really want to know?
It's a good question. And I actually read something interesting about this. It said that some linguists believe that it's less about actual well-being
Okay.
and more about just making a social connection.
Interesting.
So it's just a way of kind of acknowledging the other person
Okay.
and saying hey, I see you.
Okay.
I'm open to interacting with you.
Okay.
So it's more of just a social lubricant to kind of keep the conversation going.
I like that. Yeah, that makes it make a lot more sense to me because
Yeah.
I always kind of felt weird just being how are you? Fine.
Exactly.
And then just moving on with my day,
Right.
So the script also, touches on some alternative phrases for how are you?
Mm.
Especially in more casual situations.
Yeah.
Things like, how's it going?
Right.
What's up?
That sort of thing.
And I feel like those do feel a little bit more genuine.
Yeah, you're actually kind of interested in what's going on with them.
Yeah, exactly. And but then again, you don't necessarily want to hear all the detail.
Yeah, right? You don't need a whole life story.
If I'm at the grocery store and I ask the cashier, how's it going?
Okay.
I don't need to know their whole life story.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to be polite,
Just a friendly greeting.
Exactly.
I think another thing that this script does well is it has an example of a role play.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of show these greetings in action.
Yeah. And I like that because it kind of makes it less intimidating, right? You can see it being used in a real life-ish situation.
It's more practical that way.
Exactly.
Do you want to try a little role play just for fun?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say we're at a conference.
Okay.
And I'm trying to
Okay.
network with you.
All right, cool.
I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain about something.
Sure.
So how would that go?
So I'm over by the coffee machine.
Okay.
Looking at the snacks or something.
Okay, perfect.
What's your opening line?
Okay. Good afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed your presentation on.
Okay.
Oh gosh. See, now I'm all nervous.
It's okay.
I really enjoyed your presentation on artificial intelligence.
Oh, thank you.
It's fascinating stuff.
I'm glad it resonated with you.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we could go from there, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's a good jumping off point to a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had just gone up to you and been hey, what's up?
Right.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's a different tone.
Exactly.
Ah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this script does a good job of demonstrating that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I thought was really interesting that it pointed out is to avoid asking, what's your good name?
Oh, yeah.
It makes you sound like you're from a different time.
Right, like Shakespeare walked into the room or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's oh.
Back to...
I feel like people do that sometimes,
I think they think it sounds more formal.
Right.
but it just comes across as a little strange.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what's your name is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to add the good in there.
Keep it simple.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's a good reminder that language is always evolving. What might have sounded natural hundreds of years ago
Right.
might sound really weird today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of like, you know how things evolve and things are different in different places?
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting that this script focuses on English greetings,
Right.
but like greetings can be so different in different cultures, right?
Absolutely.
Like, imagine if we went to Japan and just started like, giving high fives and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
That would be a little awkward.
Yeah, they have their own customs, like bowing.
Right.
And the depth of the bow actually shows how much respect is
Interesting.
like giving the person. So
The lower you bow, the more respect you're showing.
exactly, yeah.
Wow.
There's a whole system to it.
That's so interesting. Or like, I've heard that in France, you kiss people on the cheek,
Oh yeah,
like as a greet. Yeah, like multiple times on each cheek.
it's crazy.
It can be confusing if you're not used to it.
Yeah, I would be very confused. I would definitely mess it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really fascinating how greetings can vary so much.
They really are like a window into the culture.
Yeah, and I think this podcast script did a good job of like laying the foundation
Yeah.
for English greetings.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like so much more to explore out
It's
there.
a good starting point.
Exactly.
But then you can dive deeper and look
Yeah.
at the nuances of different cultures and things like that.
Yeah. So I think as a final thought for our listeners, something to think about. We've talked a lot about how these greetings are kind of like formulaic,
Yeah.
like it's a script. But
Yeah.
like, do you think that our reliance on these formulas
Mm-hmm.
could sometimes prevent us
Yeah.
from having more genuine connections with people?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think there is a danger of that.
Yeah.
If we're just going through the motions and not really paying attention to the person in front of us,
Right.
we might be missing out on some deeper connections.
Yeah, like instead of just saying like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Maybe I could say like, hey, I really like your hat.
Right. Or ask them a question about something.
Right.
You genuinely want to know about them.
Exactly. So I think that's a good takeaway is
Yeah.
like, know the script, but also don't be afraid to go off script.
Exactly. Be genuine.
Yeah. So keep those greetings authentic, folks. And we'll see you next time
See you next time.
for another deep dive.